Space, the final frontier. This is the build of the LEGO Star Trek The Next Generation U.S.S. Enterprise. My mission? To explore this build filled with strange new pieces, to seek out cool building techniques, and get as many views no other LEGO YouTuber has achieved before. So yeah, here it is, the long-awaited Enterprise. A shocking reveal, at least to me. I would never expect LEGO to be turning into a product. Not only that, aside from the main product, an amazing gift with purchase Type 15 shuttle pod, available while supplies last for people who buy the Enterprise on release date. So I guess that's a perfect spot to start this entire review. So thank you LEGO for sending these both. This feels like the release of the LEGO Rivendell a few years ago. LEGO is probably thinking, we don't really know if we'll ever get the chance of working on this franchise ever again, so let's put all of the efforts into these products. And it shows. And I don't think I've ever seen a gift with purchase set this dense with this much attention to detail. The build was phenomenal, I kid you not. Getting all of these angles of the shuttle pod right must have been a really hard task to pull off, yet it was done brilliantly in my opinion. All of the decorations you see are stickers, which I can get behind in these kinds of products, and there's a ton of them to replicate details that otherwise would be impossible to do at this scale with the bricks. The gull wing doors work as they should, revealing the tight interior, where the last of the stickers is showcasing a Romulan Dederics on screen, maybe a hint at a future product? In itself, the shuttle pod will make Trekkies go nuts for sure, but even more so with the exclusive minifigure included. Commander Ro Laren, with the torso we'll be able to see featured in some of the Enterprise minifigures, with printed arms and the Starfleet Delta. And then her exclusive face, printed head element with dual expressions, even featuring her Bajapa earring on both. This is the type of product that sucks being behind the Enterprise paywall, as I'm sure a lot, and I mean a lot of people would happily buy it as a standard retail product. It's done really well, build-wise, recreates an iconic vehicle of the franchise, and includes an exclusive minifigure. Aftermarket prices for this will be insane. And now space will definitely be the final frontier with this one, because you only really get a sense of the scale and size it will take to display after you see it in front of you. It is big in a good and deserving way for the Star Trek fandom. It is after all a 3600 piece LEGO set with a box matching the piece count, and instructions split into two booklets with your usual 2-pagers of info about the model's details, the minifigures, and the usual words from the design team. Now, before diving too deep into it all, we gotta take a look at the minifigure lineup. A cast of 9 minifigures bringing to LEGO form some of the most prominent Next Generation characters. There's this stand with the Next Generation logo in there, sticker by the way, where you can display them all, and all of them have an item commonly associated with them. Lieutenant Commander Georgie LaForge has an engineering field kit on his hand, probably to match his role of chief engineer throughout most of the show, and his yellow operations uniform. His visor though is what makes the character so iconic, and 2 expressions were added to this character. Lieutenant Worf carries a phaser made with a printed slow piece, has a slightly different uniform with the baldric across his chest, has dual face expressions, and features an all-exclusive headpiece to better showcase his Klingon race. Counselor Deanna Troi has her lavender Starfleet jumpsuit, 2 face expressions, and a path, printed 1x2 tile with a Lego brick in there, which is funny and on theme. Lieutenant Commander Data has very emotionless expressions, you hardly can tell the difference, and his item, so to speak, is his cat Spot. Captain Jean-Luc Picard has the red uniform I've shown before with Ro Laren to match his rank, does not have a dual expression face for obvious reasons, and carries his iconic teacup. Commander William Riker has his trombone that can be displayed like this if you'd like, dual expressions too. Guinan, the bartender, is an interesting choice for a character, but one that made the cut nonetheless, with an all-new hat element and a bottle as her item of choice. Dr. Beverly Crusher has her science blue uniform, dual face expression too, and a tricorder, yet another of the printed elements of this set. Her son, Wesley Crusher, the child prodigy, comes with the portable tractor beam. Not being a Star Trek fan myself, it feels to me that the selection of characters here is on point, featuring most of what the fans would hope out of such a product, right? Do let me know in the comments if LEGO nailed this or not. Which finally leads us to the Federation Galaxy-class Starship U.S.S. Enterprise. The sheer scale of this is very impressive, and from a technical point of view, managing the weird shapes of the spacecraft while keeping it all together and balanced, especially the saucer module, on such a relatively thin support, really is mind-blowing. And you would reasonably be afraid to pick this up, thinking it might be flimsy, but this thing is sturdy as hell and can handle a good swoosh like it's nothing. The building instructions don't do a great job at telling how to handle this. It would have been much better to have the designer showcasing it like it has been done many times before for other large LEGO sets. But you can do it by placing a hand on the stand and grabbing it by the connecting pylon like these, or place your hands below the primary and secondary hulls. You shouldn't grab it by the warp engine nacelles or the sides of the saucer module, as those are fragile points of the design. To put it back on the sturdy stand, the best way to go about it is just turning the ship on its side and aligning the stand on the holes below like so. Without knowing too much about the Enterprise's engineering aspects, I always liked the look of the engine nacelles of the ship's design. The striking colors of the glowing blue light and the red of the Bassard collectors looks really good and breaks in a nice way the overall greyness of the entire thing. This shape was achieved with some nice recolored LEGO Super Mario elements. The way these structures were put together with studs not on top techniques was great. There's a cool Easter egg hidden inside for LEGO fans, the Octane Colors, the fuel company in LEGO World that could be the deuterium supplier for the Federation, and here's where we can find a lot of the sticker details the Starship has. The secondary hull was built as two halves that were later on put together and locked in place. And despite the look here with all of the different wedges and slopes not being the smoothest, at this scale and with a mostly curved design, the LEGO model did alright, I believe. Now, the highlight of the secondary hull is at the front with the deflector dish, a cleverly printed pair of car windshield elements printed backwards so that you can kinda see the practical effect through the element on the opposite side. This saucer module is a beast of a structure. The entire second instruction booklet was purely dedicated to it, and I gotta say, the way the oval shape was achieved was pretty darn good if you ask me. At some point in the build you have this star-shaped structure onto which pairs of panels, so to speak, clip into place to fill it up. Then the outside was made very clean using a bunch of slopes I don't think I've seen before, and all are printed with the ship's windows. And while above the large amount of paneled sections with lots of studs could look a bit messy, still looks curved and round enough to make the ship's justice. There's a big printed tile with the ship's name that was purposely placed on top for display purposes, and on the back you can find the saucer impulse engines. Some of the shuttle bays are depicted as stickers, but the main one was actually built, and next to it a shuttle pod can be seen flying in. It can be lifted though to reveal another shuttle pod inside, and hidden within the build, a golden plaque sticker with the ship's name and one of the show's most famous quotes will be buried and locked away forever, which is kinda neat. I do think that one of the most impressive features the model has to offer though is the ability to remove the saucer disc. You can do so by removing the shuttle pod, disguised as a security pin, and simply sliding the saucer out. When you pick it up, you'll be even more amazed at how crazy it is that this 1.5 kilo stack of LEGO bricks is held in place by just a few bricks and plates. LEGO did boldly go where no one has gone before with these techniques, which is for me the reason why I'm so impressed with this model. Since I was never into Star Trek, as a LEGO fan, recognizing how hard it must have been to come up with solid and sturdy solutions for this model must have been an incredibly hard challenge to surpass. But for Star Trek fans, judging by the amount of feedback the reveal video has gotten since yesterday, I can kinda tell people are really excited. Maybe to the point of completely disregarding the slightly overpriced nature of this set. At 3,600 pieces, this will retail for $400. A $350 price point would have been extremely fair, but the $50 upcharge isn't terrible if you can knock down the price a little with some insiders points discounts, and if you manage to get the Type 15 shuttle pod as your gift with purchase product alongside it. But my guess is LEGO fans who share a love for Star Trek and have never gotten an official LEGO product made out of their favorite fandom will make it so to get this, regardless of its price, on its release date of November 28th during Black Friday. Links for purchase can be found below, so be sure to engage with them when the time comes. Live long and prosper, and I'll see you all on the next voyage.